Many individuals suffer from pain, whether acute or chronic, which can severely affect their quality of life. This video will detail some basic neurophysiology when it comes to pain and some of the anatomical pathways that give rise to pain perception in the brain. So how do we perceive pain? What is the anatomy and physiology that underpins our brain identifying a stimulus in the periphery as being painful? Overall, for a noxious stimulus to get from the periphery to the cortex, there is a 3-neuron system involving 2 synapses. Say we are out for a nice walk along the beach without our shoes on, and we step on a sharp object like a piece of glass or a rock. Likewise, say we are cooking up a nice dinner on the stove and we happen to burn our hand. This sharp object, or the heat, will cause enough pressure on our skin or provide enough noxious heat to the skin to activate high threshold free nerve endings. Free nerve endings are also called nociceptors, which is the fancy word for pain receptors. Nociceptors are part of what we call first order neurons, which project from the skin to our spinal cord. So, when we activate free nerve endings or nociceptors, this will cause action potentials to be generated in first order sensory neurons, or the first neuron in our 3-neuron system. Now, there are 2 main types of first order neurons, the A delta and C fibres. A delta fibres are myelinated and hence conduct action potentials at a faster rate than C fibres and mediate what we call fast pain. Think about the pain you feel when initially stepping on the sharp object or burning your hand. This would be the A delta fibres kicking in and firing off action potentials into the central nervous system. C fibres are not myelinated and they conduct action potentials at a slower rate and mediate slow pain. C fibres are associated with that slow, dull, aching pain you feel after stepping on the sharp object or burning your hand that can last for hours after the initial injury. Both A delta and C fibres form synaptic connections with second order neurons in the dorsal horn of the spinal cord grey matter. Second order neurons, as their name suggests, are the second of the 3 neurons in our 3-neuron chain. In the dorsal horn of the spinal cord, first order neurons release the excitatory neurotransmitters glutamate and substance P onto second order neurons, which activates the second order neurons. Second order neurons travel up the spinal cord towards the brain and brainstem, where they eventually reach the thalamus. Anatomically, the axons of second order neurons form the anterolateral system, which comprises the anterior and lateral spinothalamic tracts. The naming of these tracts makes sense as they originate in the spinal cord and terminate in the thalamus, hence spinothalamic. Now, if we were to get specific, crude touch and pressure is relayed via the anterior tract and pain and temperature is relayed via the lateral tract. So, for pain to be relayed to supraspinal structures, we would mainly require the lateral spinothalamic tract. Along the way to the thalamus, second order neurons also project to the reticular formation, or RF for short in this video, which activates noradrenergic projections that release noradrenaline throughout the brain to make us nice and alert. This is one of the reasons why we are never sleepy when we are in pain. This is via collateral projections forming the spinoreticular tract. Second order neurons also project to a part of our brainstem called the periaqueductal grey of the midbrain via the spinomesencephalic tract. The periaqueductal grey, or PAG for short in this video, is a structure that kickstarts a top-down descending control of pain. Activation of the periaqueductal grey causes some neurotransmitters and endogenously released opiates to be released into the spinal cord, which dampen or reduce the pain signal sent back up to the brain by acting to inhibit the firing of first and second order neurons. The descending modulation of pain plays a part in our adaptation to pain. Lastly, third order neurons, the third neurons in our 3-neuron system, travel from the thalamus to the primary somatosensory cortex. This is where a stimulus is perceived as being painful and localized to the relevant part of the body, i.e. the foot or the hand in our example. However, keep in mind that the thalamus is a relay station between the spinal cord and other parts of the brain. So pain signals are also sent from the thalamus to the amygdala of the limbic system and also the frontal cortex. In the limbic system, the painful stimulus will affect emotional processing, and in the frontal cortex, the pain will affect thoughts, perceptions, and expectations around the painful stimulus. In the frontal cortex and limbic system, it is thought that some degree of plasticity will occur in response to this painful stimulus, so that your brain is better prepared if a similar stimulus arrives in the future. Yet, some plasticity can be maladaptive, and these parts of the brain could be involved in chronic pain, whereby changes in their structure or function mean that an individual will feel pain or the associated emotions, thoughts, perceptions, and expectations without a noxious stimuli or stimulus present in the periphery. This is one reason why pain is a complex phenomenon, and as researchers, we need to better understand how pain interacts with the nervous system so that we can better develop pain treatments. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully this video was not too painful to watch. No pun intended.